Hey guys, this is Eckhartsladder. Hello and welcome to another video. So today's upload will be a little bit different than normal. This is actually an excerpt of a conversation that I had on the Star Wars Battlefront podcast, and also featuring friend of the channel Bombastic. Now, if you want to listen to the whole podcast, or at least the first part, I'll make sure to include a link to their upload in the upper right hand corner, but the Star Wars Battlefront podcast is also available on most podcasting platforms. Just search for them. Also, today's video will be pretty much audio only. I will throw some Squadrons content up for you guys to watch as it plays, but just maybe go do something else as you're listening to this. Anyway, let's roll it.
Such an interesting thing. So we've got EA has had the license since 2013.
Mm-hmm.
We've had Battlefront 2015, we've had Battlefront 2, and we've had Jedi Fallen Order. We're having this game as well. It's interesting to see we've got these gigantic blockbuster. Well, Battlefront 2 was the everything Star Wars game. So it tried to be everything. Mm-hmm. And it suffered for that because they couldn't really multitask with the different game modes. If they were supporting one game mode, they were not supporting another game mode. And then you see this has been a topic on our podcast for quite a few episodes, but the idea of rather than having one game that does everything, maybe what would be very interesting is to have very specific games that support a niche audience. So with this game, maybe going forward, we have this going to be the Starfighter game. For now, Battlefront is the online multiplayer shooter game. We've got Jedi Fallen Order being the single-player game. Maybe going forward, we have more of those types of experiences. What do you guys think?
It's going to be interesting to see. So one thing I will say, EA have said they're going to double down on Star Wars games in the next few years, right? Which is a statement they made, I'm assuming, because they know that the license is going up for either renewal or expiring in 2023. So they either have to, in the next few years, produce several more really good Star Wars games to make up for what's happened in the last few years, or, you know, kind of try and make up for that in some way. One thing I wanted to ask you guys about is a lot of people obviously call the mid-2000s like the golden age for Star Wars gaming, right? Mm-hmm. And the year 2005, there was Battlefront 2, the original, released, the Revenge of the Sith tie-in game. A lot of people loved that on PlayStation, and I think it was on another console
Xbox,
as well. Yeah. You had Lego Star Wars, the original Lego Star Wars video game. And also there was one more, Republic Commando, all released in 2005.
Yeah, Empire War was 06
Knowing that, there you go. Knowing that all those games back then released in that time period in such a short amount of time, within the space of a year or two, and seeing EA so far, they've had the license for 7 years, they've only put out 3 games. A lot of people argue that they haven't done nearly enough with the license, right? Do you think that that's because gaming now is so different? It's online. All of those games back then were, you know, generally more focused on the single player experience. Mm-hmm. It was just a different time for gaming. They're more basic games, whereas, you know, you compare them to modern day Battlefront 2, it's another, you know, it's a much bigger kind of to build, right? Would you argue that that's the reason why there haven't been as many Star Wars games, or do you think that kind of reality of 2005 could still exist now?
I think it's kind of a mix, because if you look at even what LucasArts put out, by the time, you know, that they lost, or that LucasArts folded, they weren't putting out very many games either.
They became a publishing platform, basically.
Yeah, I just don't think with how much work a AAA studio, or how much work a AAA game requires, that it's feasible for one publisher, even one as large as EA, to actively manage as many games as LucasArts could manage in the past. And like, I like EA, especially after, you know, the whole Battlefront 2 fiasco. I think they get way too much crap now. Like, I have people saying, I'm not going to buy Squadrons because it's got microtransactions. I'm like, one, they've confirmed it won't have any, and two, you know, Battlefront has been a great game, and Fallen Order had nothing. But, you know, they've got that perhaps rightly earned reputation. But yeah, even as much as I love EA, and, you know, it would be in my self-interest for them to continue having the Star Wars brand, because I'm a game changer, so I get to play all the stuff early and get exclusive content and whatever. I still think they should probably spread it out to a few different companies, because I don't see what the harm is in it. I don't think Star Wars fans are going to be satiated by video games. I think Star Wars fans would buy one or two video games a year easily. So there needs to be more.
Like you said, there's a couple sides to it. Like you've got the question of, do you think we can have that many in a single year? Yes, but they would have to quadruple down instead of double down. They would have to open like specific studios just for those. They wouldn't have DICE running Battlefield and Battlefront. They would have to have like Battlefront 2 developer. They would have to have X developer, like specifically created. And I think there's an idea that, I mean, if any company were to be able to do it, just one company, it would be EA. But that runs into an issue, in my opinion.
Like complacency.
So, exactly. They don't have any competition. If they opened it up where EA maybe has like, EA can still produce all of these games, but now Lucas, I don't know if LucasArts is still a thing, but there is an internal group that is based out of Lucasfilm that is specifically for the video games. It's still around. That's who they talk to. They're also a pain in the butt to work with. That's another reason. Consistently through the history of Star Wars video games, Lucasfilm has been the hitch, the pothole in the road for all of these different types of games. You see that with like 1313, the history of like how that game basically crumbled apart because George Lucas himself was like, oh yeah, change that and change that and change that. Oh yeah, now this game's going to be based on Boba Fett. We're like, we just made an entire story arc about this character we made, and now you want us to throw it out the window? Yeah. I've heard similar things through the creation of these Star Wars games. Is like, it's super frustrating to work with Lucasfilm. Especially with like Battlefront 2015, because they had that whole thing. Like everything needed to be canon. Like there was a reason that they didn't have any prequel or sequel trilogy, anything in that. It's because it had to be canon. Even though you have Palpatine on Jakku when he was obviously dead by the end of the trilogy.
Yeah, sure. I don't think you should let canon get in the way of fun. Like games like it. Honestly, like if you look at like Star Wars games on the N64, you know, Rogue Squadron is a really good example. The games could fit really well within canon. And there were even some Star Wars Legends connections in Rogue Squadron because you played some of the Dark Empire missions where you're on Mon Calamari or whatever else. But like they didn't let canon get in the way of a good time. If you want to have Rogue Squadron somewhere where they wouldn't necessarily have been, do it. Kriegsmarine was already technically rescued from the Empire once in Legends, but like they did it again because it'd be a really cool mission. And it's like video games to me, like as long as they're fun, especially for multiplayer video games. Like if they said Star Wars Squadron, nothing in Star Wars Squadrons is canon, I wouldn't have cared, at least for multiplayer. So like if
I think that's part of their current initiative though, isn't it, to keep everything within that, because they're trying more Disney, like the Disney side of, you know, Lucasfilm, whatever, are trying to just continue to build this world, right? Everything they put out that's Star Wars, they want to be Disney canon Star Wars, right?
Yeah, that's their whole idea. But like you can keep that, but keep maybe like the campaign is the only thing that's canon, and then you have like, oh yeah, this character was dead, and so they would never be able to fight this character, like just for the sake of gameplay. But I think that's something that they've struggled with.